That, of course, was Eric Comstock singing there. Just kidding, just kidding. But with us on the telephone, these are four-time MAC Award winners for major duo artists. MAC is the Manhattan Association of Cabarets and Clubs, because that's the kind of thing that these two folks do. Writing for Variety, Robert Daniels said of Eric Comstock, he brings elegance and charm to the fine art of saloon singing. Meanwhile, when Barbara Fasano was at Birdland earlier this year, Ron Foreman of the Cabaret Scenes website wrote, quote, "Her sound is reminiscent of Lena Horne, but her style is all Barbara Fasano. Her beauty, hand motions, and facial expressions make each song a unique experience," which is amazing because my hand motions and facial expressions scare people away. But I am jealous and delighted to have both Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano in the Daverhood. Shalom to you both.
Well, what are we supposed to say after that amazing introduction? Shalom to you as well.
That's it. Shalom and Happy New Year. Now, neither of you, Fasano, you're probably Italian. You gotta be, right?
That's right. My ancestry was from Naples and Calabria.
Oh, no, Napoli. Cool. So are you Catholic? What are you in terms of religiosity?
In terms of religiosity, yes, I was raised a very good Catholic girl. I would say that I'm slightly lapsed at this point and sort of Catholic/Buddhist at this point.
Oh, Catholic.
But yes, I was raised Catholic.
Okay, well, you Catholic girls start much too late. That's what. Now, Eric, what about you? You're probably Irishish, or what are you? Scotch?
I'm still wondering.
Ha! Well, what's your background? What?
It's primarily limey. I say that I was raised in the mayonnaise belts of New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey! My goodness, I don't detect a trace of New Jersey in your speech. Did either of you have?
I worked at it, Rabbi.
Did you? I'm not even joking here, but did either of you, when you were learning to sing and perform in cabaret, did you have to lose certain Eastern Seaboard lingo or the way you spoke and do it in a more, shall we say, Cole Portery, no cowardy phraseology? You know what I'm saying?
What are you talking about? You're talking about losing like a Long Island accent?
There you go.
I never lost it. I think it's a beautiful sound.
Wow, a beautiful sound. Don't know about that.
Well, yes, of course. Wait, when you study, you learn how to manipulate the sound to make the most beautiful sound, and especially when you're singing these songs, you want to give them their due. So yeah, you don't want any of those accents get in the way.
Now, were you both? It's so fun to have two people at the same time. So did you both discover music early and in the same ways?
Roughly, I think we were both influenced by our parents in that regard. Barbara, I know, she had a dad who would go into the finished basement in her house on Long Island and listen to Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald and Bing Crosby. And her older siblings were upstairs doing listening to the singer-songwriters.
And Eric, of course, had parents who were very sophisticated and listened to Mabel Mercer and Bobby Short. And so he learned a lot of that very high-end material and style from them. And it wasn't until much later that he encountered Sinatra and Mel Torme and Duke Ellington, and then melded all of that into his musical personality.
Well, I get the feeling.
But what we have in common is loving the lyrics.
Interesting. So who is your favorite, Sondheim, obvious, but who are a couple of your favorite lyricists combined there?
Well, I love songs that tell a great story, so I'm a big fan of the singer-songwriter era also. On my latest CD, which is called Busy Being Free, I've got a Jimmy Webb song and a Joni Mitchell song. I think Joni Mitchell's lyrics are amazing and tell great stories. But then, of course, you can't beat people like Dorothy Fields and Carolyn Lee, and of course, the great Cole Porter. These are people that are such wordsmiths, such craftsmen, that those songs have such good bones that you sing them today, and they have complete relevance for the times that we're living in now.
Well, can I ask, does it take convincing when you want to do a song by a Joni or a Jimmy Webb or a Springsteen or whoever. And Eric, you seem much more steeped in the older material and maybe not so much in that 70s, 80s singer-songwriter stuff. Or is that not true? Eric, you appreciate it just as much.
I've grown a lot in the 15 years that Barbara and I have been married. And so we're doing a set at Birdland Jazz Club here in New York later today. And I will do a Randy Newman and a Dylan. And Barbara may well sing a Joni Mitchell or great Jill Sobule, who's around today. So we try and combine it and just broaden the songbook because it should never end. We don't want it to be a museum piece ever.
And it's important to remember that these songs that we're talking about, the greater songs from that singer-songwriter era, we're talking about the 70s. So we're talking about 50 years now. Those songs are becoming, as much a part of the great American songbook as Cole Porter, I think. I think it's important to mix them up and to put a Joni Mitchell next to a Jerome Kern, next to an Irving Berlin,
yes,
and make them all sound relevant.
And a Shlomo Carlebach. Are you doing any Shlomo Carlebach?
I do a lot of that. Exactly.
Good.
I do. I'm opening with that, and then we're closing.
And any Shuby Taylor? Do you have any of that in there? Any scat Shuby Taylor singing?
We're crazy about his or her work.
No. By the way, we're talking with Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano, who are mentioning, here's the deal, you can see them at Birdland. Yes, well, what time is it today, tonight?
We're there on Saturdays at 5:30.
Saturdays at 5:30, and when they say that, they mean today, October 12th, October 19th, November 2nd, November 9th, November 16th, and is it going to be continuing beyond that?
Yes.
There you go.
Plus, we're going to play a beautiful room in Baltimore on October 25th, Germano's Piattini, and Binghamton, New York, November 23rd. The nice thing about the schedule at Birdland is when we have these out-of-town engagements, we get to go and do those. But we're at Birdland most Saturdays, and it's always a lot of fun with people from all over the world coming in.
And it's a different show every week, so we get to really mix it all up and do the whole gamut of material. And we have a wonderful bass player, the star bassist Sean Smith, who joins us on stage. And Birdland is a great restaurant. People come for supper, early Saturday supper. It's a party.
Well, when you say that you change it up every week, how much rehearsal then do you do with the band that you're using? Because you've got to do then a different set list every time and add in 3 songs and take away 3 or 4 songs. How much work does that involve?
Well, it's an interesting thing because we are sort of immersed in music all the time. When something is your passion, it's not really work. So during the course of the week, we're always thinking about what songs would we like to do this week and what should we change up? And, there's a tune I wanted to try out. Let's put that one in this week. So it's a very organic process. And we've worked with Sean for many, many years, and he knows the songbook extremely well. He's an astonishing musician with great memory. And so, believe it or not, we have a short rehearsal before the gig, usually the afternoon of, and then we go.
Wow.
And there's something really fun and spontaneous and free about it. It's not overly thought out. We go with our gut, we put the set together, and then we go.
Now, I'm going to ask when I think both of you, or maybe just Eric, or both of you teach the art of singing, the art of cabaret. What can be taught? What isn't internal or integral, where you just have a natural talent and you develop it? What can you teach someone who wants to sing in this way?
Well, it's one of our great joys, actually, that we conduct private coaching, and we direct other people who are performing their own shows. We do master classes around the country. I think if somebody has even a little bit of talent or desire, in my opinion, a lot of it is really pulling away the things that get in the way. You have your life experience, and you want to bring that to a song. So it's about teaching somebody how to let themselves be in the music. Once you've got the song memorized, then it's about what does it really mean to you, and opening yourself up to the musical experience when you're standing up and singing. So some things are technical, of course, how you hold the microphone and how you make eye contact with the audience, and things that are, physical, breathing. I do a lot of technique work with singers also. But I think mostly it's really letting yourself get lost in the song so that you can tell that story to the audience as if you're talking to your best friend at a bar at 3 o'clock in the morning and there's nobody else around and your defenses are down and you're being totally honest with your human experience. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that we all want to do, which is, only connect, right? It's just about that.
See,
so a lot of our teaching is just taking away the defenses that people have that get in the way of letting themselves connect.
I have to say that my problem is with the breathing, because I forget to breathe. And I'll do a song and 2 stanzas and I collapse, which is horrible. They have to cart me away, give me oxygen. Yeah. It'd be nice if somebody was in my ear saying, you should breathe occasionally. It's just one of those things.
Breath is the whole thing. Breath is the ticket to life. It's the point of yoga, it's the point of living, and it's the point of singing. Once you figure out how the breath works, then you're good. But it's an interesting thing because that is the core of our existence, and so that's where the tension goes. You hold it when you get nervous. Forget to breathe.
Right. Now, Eric, you not only sing and perform the songs of some of these great folks that you were talking about, Mel Torme and Cole Porter and Bobby Short, but you've written about them. You've done essays, fairly serious essays about these artists. So what are unexpected things that you learned in writing about these cabaret and jazz legends?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I want to just second what Barbara said, that when it's your passion, it isn't hard work at all, and we thrive on the great stories about these creators, the vocalists also. I guess, one shouldn't be surprised that they're flesh and blood human beings with lots of faults, and they have their good days, their bad days. I should say a word about the piece you played, because Barbara's talking about letting down defenses, and that, ironically, was a song about that very thing. And I don't know if you know it, but it's from one of Marilyn Monroe's less successful late movies called Let's Make Love, in which she starred with Yves Montand. It's by Sammy Cahn and Jimmy Van Heusen. Incurably romantic. What a beautiful song. And that's another great thing, the privilege we get delivering these wonderful non-hit songs to audiences.
Well, the closest I get to
great joy.
The closest I get to Van Heusen is My Underpants. I don't know what that means. Does anybody even remember Van Heusen Underpants? I don't know.
It wasn't even his real name. I mean, even Van Heusen actually made up his name. His real name was Babcock.
Oh.
You can't get more goyish than that.
I know, right? You figure it would have been Schmulevitz. And he said, no, can't really do it. I'll name myself after. I can't name myself Fruit of the Loom. That won't work. And Pierre Cardin already has his. No,
he was a fashion plate, and he loved Van Heusen shirts. He did.
Oh, really?
That's how he picked it.
Now, speaking of how things are created and how they work, were you performing separately, and then you met each other and fell in love with it? Or how did that all come about?
Yes, we still perform separately from, at times Barbara headlined.
Right.
Barbara headlined at the Music Mountain up in the Berkshire this summer, and she's done the Saratoga Jazz Festival with her own groups. But the fact is we had our individual careers recording as well as performing, and then, yes, we fell in love. But we were married for a year, Rabbi, before we ever tried to work together. And it did not have to work, and we were not, we just said, let's see how it pans out. And it's worked out really so beautifully.
Fabulously.
But we still do our individual stuff, and Barbara has recorded, obviously, under her own name, and I under mine.
Well, can I ask, how do you, because it's Cabaret has a nice little niche audience, and you can go to Birdland, that's a wonderful thing, and maybe some other places here and there, but how do you carve out a living the two of you. And
Well, I want to just say that cabaret is not the word we would use to describe what we do, because I think most people feel like the word cabaret connotes decadence and, Sally Bowles and cabaret and that kind of, the cabaret, the show. And, we don't think of it as that kind of nightclub. It's just a concert. We just consider it a concert, and we consider ourselves jazz artists who play in these saloons. They're saloons, Of course, Birdland is a legendary, the holiest of holy jazz rooms. But we just feel we're giving a concert, and we believe strongly that the two greatest American products or exports, are jazz music and the American songbook, and that's as good as it gets.
And Heinz ketchup, probably. I would say that's a third. Not too far.
Cabaret just sounds. I think people misunderstand it, so we don't use it.
But the thing is, you guys, by doing Birdland and the teaching and recording, and I assume you're a session musician as well. And I mean, how do you make a decent living where you can pay the bills of living in New York?
Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot that part of the question.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly helps that I am my own accompanist, and that's always been, great for me because I can work alone at times. I work all kinds of places, and Barbara's teaching. She is the primary teacher. That's a big part of it. And we make it work. I mean, it's New York. We're living where we want to live, and we do great. We're very, very great.
Mit Mazel, mit Glück, and it should. So, does it, now that you've been married for 15 years, people always ask this about folks who work together. If you wake up in the morning, you're having a terrible fight, and then you have to go and do songs together in a club, in a concert hall. How do you do it? Does it pour into the songs, or when you're on stage, you're just all smiles and lovey-dovey? And after the show's over, has the argument gone away, or you get right back into it?
Oh, I think it all exists simultaneously. I mean, we're very lucky in the sense that even after 15 years, I think we really enjoy each other's company, and we really enjoy the creative process because we each bring different strengths to it. But, let's face it, just like any collaboration, it can get very fraught. We have arguments, disagreements over all kinds of aspects, or things just get tense because you've got a deadline, you've got a concert coming up, you're not quite ready, or you just feel stressed about it, and you take it out on each other. So all of that definitely happens. But I think like any married couple, we just, plow through it. And when you get up on stage, the music, of course, has a way of just taking precedence. And everything just gets poured into the music. And then, yes, you get off stage and then you say, and as I was saying.
Oh, wow. So let me also ask, Eric, your last album was Bittersweet in 2011. Barbara, you did, 2015 was when you did Busy Being Free, the one which is based, of course, on a Joni Mitchell line. But are CDs kind of dinosaurs now for jazz and pop and nightclub artists? I mean, what is the way now to get music out?
Oh, well, the key is we do sell CDs at our appearances at Birdland because in many cases these people come from all over the world to see us. So it's a lovely memento of their visit to New York or the United States. But the download world keeps it going. We still get a lot of work because of the records that we've made. Very proud. We're very proud of our albums with some of the greatest musicians in the world, and it gets around that people hear about us all over the world because of our records.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think in many ways it's easier now because although the physical product is something that people may not be as interested in as they were in the past, but the way you can now access music on the internet makes it accessible to anyone anywhere in the world, and that's very exciting.
So let me ask you also, since you're so much into music, have you guys written your own songs ever?
We've collaborated on lyrics together to existing melodies. And when friends have birthdays, we often write a little parody to make them laugh and smile on their birthday. But I think we both feel we are interpreters first.
Okay. Hey, by the way, I want to get back to you because we were talking about when you first met and all that going on. But somewhere in one of your interviews, you mentioned that you guys had, quote, the greatest first date ever. Why? What did you stoop? What was so great about it?
Oh, yeah, it was very sweet. Eric had gotten my email. We knew each other very slightly, just as colleagues, but had never really socialized. And after a period of emails back and forth, he ended up coming to a concert I was doing and then taking me out to supper, inviting me to supper, which I thought was so lovely. And we walked in the rain to a beautiful restaurant in Greenwich Village. And it was one of those magical first dates where we just talked and talked and talked and talked. But when he took me home that evening, he took me home in a cab and then left the cab running, walked me to the front door of my building and kissed me goodnight on the cheek.
Aww.
Right.
Yeah.
Sweet, but confusing. So I spent the rest of the night calling my girlfriend, trying to figure out, was this a date or not?
Well, he's being a gentleman. People
Exactly.
back in the day, that was the thing, you know. And it's not like
It was
he's going
very sweet.
to get the manacles
And so
out
then within 6 months, we were engaged, and in less than a year, we were married. So that's why we call it the greatest first date, because it was magical.
Well, that is a great.
I kissed her several other spots on the second and third day.
Oh my goodness!
And it was all clear.
No, it's wonderful. That's marvelous. And those are all happy, wonderful things. In the times that you have been performing live in front of thousands and thousands of people, what are some of the amazing, funny disasters that have occurred when you're trying to do your songs and stuff happens in the audience?
Oh, I'll start. I have one. We were doing a concert here in town in New York, and I was in the middle of a beautiful ballad. Actually, it's a song by John Wallowitz called "Come a Little Closer." Very, very delicate, pretty song. And the waiter coming through the house with a full tray of glasses dropped the whole thing right smack in the middle of my ballad, to which of course we all yelled, "Mazel tov!"
Right? Yes, I know that word. Yes. That has happened to, I think, every cabaret person where there's been a big smash, boom, crash. It happens. That's the
always.
Yeah.
And I can remember we appeared in a beautiful beach club in Long Island, and it was really on the beach, and it was very humid, and so we all needed clothespins to hold the bass player and I used clothespins to hold our music up, and we were so close to the ocean. It was, as I said, very humid, and even the clothespins couldn't help us because in addition to all the wind, the humidity was such that everything just collapsed, just crumpled in front of our eyes. We couldn't read.
In fact, the music was curling, and I was literally performing next to the bass player with my arm draped over his music stand so that the music would not, we were outside, would not just curl up and then fly away.
Oh my gosh. Did the audience, did you let them in on the secret, or did you just try and make it like, nope, nothing's happening, we're fine? Because there's two different ways to go with that. You can tell the audience, hey, yeah.
Oh, no, you definitely let the audience in on it, and everybody has a good giggle, and, we're all in it together, and
yeah. I
think it's okay. That's another thing. When wacky things happen, if you try to hide it, then that's an untruth in a weird kind of way, Whereas if you just go with it, make a joke, here we all are, look at this, it's live, folks.
Yeah.
You're in the moment. I think that's better.
I agree. By the way, if you want to be in the moment with Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano, Go see them tonight at Birdland. I won't call it Cabaret. It's a Birdland nightclub, one of the premier jazz clubs in the world. They're playing tonight. They're also playing next Saturday, the 12th. The Saturday after that, the 19th. They take a week off, but then they're there on the 2nd of November, the 9th of November, the 16th of November. If you start doing a calendar for 2027, and you pick a Saturday night, Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano will be at Birdland. Now, to find out more about them and to track their movements and stuff, you can go to their respective websites, ericcomstock.net and barbarafasano.com. Do you have a mutual site?
No, we don't. We have Twitter accounts and Tumblr accounts and all of that, but our websites are separate. But you can get to each other's. You can bounce back and forth.
Bounce back and forth, but as they did on their second and third date. But sorry, ericcomstock.net, barbarafasano.com. Another question for you guys. You mentioned John Wolowitz, right? As opposed to Randy Newman, Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan. Who are the people who are writing songs that are more in that club American songbook-ish tradition, as opposed to the singer-songwriter, pop, rock, folk era? Who are you listening to? Where are the songs coming
I would
from?
say
Yeah.
Dave Frischberg, who's still writing and is brilliant. He writes. He's a jazz musician who became a wonderful songwriter. I'm sure you know these songs like "I'm Hip" and "Peel Me a Grape."
Oh yeah.
And beautiful love songs that we do. And Stephen Lutbach, who wrote the Broadway hit "Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was very funny. That was a delightful show.
Also,
Yeah.
the wonderful songwriter Julie Gold, whose Grammy-winning song "From a Distance" still gets performed a lot, and she has an amazing repertoire of beautiful songs. Michelle Browerman is another wonderful songwriter who's also going to be at Birdland, I think, coming up this month. She has a new record out. She's a terrific songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there, Rabbi, but there isn't this need. Once upon a time, there were 100 Broadway openings and 100 films opened that needed entire scores of songs, so that our, George and Ira Gershwin and Cole Porter and Jerome Kern and Dorothy Fields and Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg, all these guys and women were out writing in Los Angeles, and just there was such an insatiable demand for songs of quality, and they had such regard for the intelligence of the American public, and they were right, because the American public accepts what it gets, and when it gets excellence, it embraces the excellence. And these songs, of course, will outlive all of us, even you, Rabbi.
No, not me. I'm hoping for 120. And 240 for the two of you.
Thank you. We'll take it.
Now, let me also ask: are there a couple of songs that you both love that you would love to do live or put on a record or something, but it just doesn't work for you guys as performers? You love it on record, you think, oh, we should do this one, and it just meh when you try and sing it.
That's a good question. I mean, I think there are a lot of wonderful, because you have the artists who you admire, Lena Horne you mentioned earlier, of course Sinatra, Ella,
right,
Carmen McRae, Sylvia Sims, they've got wonderful, wonderful songs, and some of their records you fall in love with, and you just know that's not a right song for you, but you love hearing them do it. I think of Sylvia has that wonderful song, the Pink Capita, Size 10. It's a great song that she sings, a great story song that she sings that I love hearing her do, but I know that it's not right for me.
Wait, did you say Pink Catheter? Or was it taffeta there?
Pink Catheter.
Because I've had a pink catheter. It's horrible. I wouldn't want to sing that at all. I just wanted to pull it out.
No.
Vault. No. Oh my God. No.
It's the story of a garment salesman, on the road, and his daughter is longing for him to daddy to come home and let her try on his samples, and one of them is the one she loves the most, taffeta.
Half it.
I want to be clear.
Yes.
Half a time.
Now, it's been absolutely a delight. I've been trying on and putting on and having fun with Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot, if you don't mind, if it's okay with you. And I'll give you the choice to sort of.
I'm not telling you my weight.
No, none of my business. None of my. The critics say you look beautiful. So, critics, you got to believe them. So if they're saying you're beautiful, Barbara, you're beautiful. And Eric's a good-looking fella, too.
Wow.
The two of them.
I always find the good lighting. Let's put it that way.
No, but it's important. You go to a nightclub, you see these people. They're swelligant. They're good-looking people dressed very, very elegant. And that's part of it, right? The look is also part of the song, isn't it?
Well, it depends. I mean, that's a matter of style. Some people care more about that than others. I mean, there's the issue of image. What is your image? Some people want to be more glamorous. Some people want to be more,
Mandy Patinkin, can you wear a
down to earth.
Yeah.
But I was a lover of the great Julie Wilson, and when I was first coming up, she was a real model for me, and she became a mentor, and I'm proud to say she became a friend, and both Eric and I adored her. And Julie had a relaxed kind of elegance. She just wore those clothes easily. She always looked like $1,000,000. And she used to say to me, even if you're performing in somebody's garage, you are who you are, and you show up dressed the way you dress, and you do what you do no matter where you are. Mm. And I took that to heart, So I'm of the other school that likes to dress up a little bit and likes to bring a little glamour to the stage. That's just what's comfortable for me.
Yeah. No, I wear a yarmulke and tallis to the hardware store. It's like still gonna be what I am, But
yes, you should see me at Fairway. It's quite a jaw-dropping experience when I walk in with my boa.
Hey, who are the people? Not to leave people out, but who are the cabaret performers that you guys like to see and you admire and you think, more people should go see so-and-so at Feinstein's 54 Below or 88's, or if that's still, or Don't Tell Mama, places like that, or Birdland?
Well, if I started to make that list, I would inevitably leave out people. But,
right.
It's a great community in New York. As I said before, the word cabaret, I feel, excludes people because there aren't cabarets in every city.
Yeah.
It's certain cities. And, of course, New York is the capital. And, yes, we go to see our colleagues whenever our schedule allows us to. And I'm proud to say a lot of our colleagues come and check us out, and it's always flattering when it is. Barbara mentioned Julie, who isn't with us anymore, but Julie was extremely loyal to us. And of course, we went to see her. Steve Ross, our friend
Steve Ross. He was on this program a few months ago. Yeah.
We were just on a bill with him just the other night, and he's a great friend. And of course, along with Bobby Short and Nat King Cole, these are the great pianist singers who taught me a lot about what I do. So I'm, as with Barbara and Julie Wilson, I'm enormously flattered that Steve Ross and I were friends, and Bobby Short and I had a mutual admiration. I wouldn't go so far as to say we were friends, but it was made clear to me that he liked what I did, and he appreciated that I was keeping a tradition going that mattered a lot to him, the pianist singer in the small rooms.
That's lovely. So here's the deal. Here's how I'm going to close this wonderful conversation we've had with Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano.
We've had fun too.
You can have more fun with them because they're going to be at Birdland tonight and then almost every Saturday. Check their schedules at their websites, barbarafasano.com, ericcomstock.net. Can you guys, I will give you the choice here. Could you sing either the dreidel song or Hava Nagila? Little snack. Just
we can each sing one. We'll just
whichever.
Dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. I made it out of clay. Dreidel.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Please don't judge our work based on that.
And now the tarantella.
Oh, what a delight, what a joy. Eric, Barbara, it just remains for me to thank you very, very much for being with us in the Daverhood. Wish you, even though you're not of the faith, most happy holiday season to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been our pleasure.
Mine too, and shalom to you both.
Shalom to you.
Thank
Rabbi.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
Say hello to Dave, please.
Oh, yeah, I will, at some point. I'm going to go. Bye-bye now. Oh, Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano, what a delight! Let's hear a little bit more of them, shall we? We shall.